I'm Tom Grassi, a New York City comedian and diehard Green Bay Packers fan for almost 20 years.
In the end zone, it is caught for the win. Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. A game ender for the Packers.
In 2015, I created a podcast where each week I talk to fans from opposing teams to share their story and to get yelled at for about an hour for being a Packers fan. Last year, I met amazing people and went to amazing places. And this year, I'm ready to do it all over again.
Make no mistake about it, I will be remembered as a Packer.
Enjoy the show. Grassi Posse Packer Nation, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't need to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. We are coming fresh off a Sunday night victory against the New York Giants, 23-16. Of course, it always feels better to do this show the night after a win, something I'm extremely excited about. The Giants, if you heard last week's episode with the Giants fan, Colin, the Giants were always a little worrisome for me, and there was some PTSD while I was watching the game of just the 15-1 season, losing then, Brett Favre losing in the NFC Championship game. We finally exercised those Giant demons and came away with a win. And there's a bunch of notes to kind of take away from this. The first thing, talking about the offense, in that Lacey looked good until he got an injury, but it seems like he's going to be just fine. He had 81 yards and 11 carries. James Starks wound up taking over for the complete fourth quarter. Randall Cobb had his best game of the season, so I wouldn't call it a breakout game, but he had 108 yards, didn't get a TD, but he also hurt himself as well, and it looked really, really scary because he got folded up really, really bad at one point. So it was good to see him being able to walk away from that. It seems like he's going to be fine as well. Nelson with another TD with an amazing, amazing grab. And Adams continued to have a really, really nice day. 85 yards, 1 touchdown. Adams has been pretty consistent now in the past 4 games now. So that's good to see that he's really emerging as the number 3. Rodgers, on the other hand, 23 for 45, 259, 2 TDs, and 2 interceptions. One of them was a fluke. It bounced off a defender's hand, and it got picked off. But there was a couple balls that were thrown high, and I've critiqued Rodgers before, but again, he is a future Hall of Fame quarterback, and I am a guy that is currently sitting in my Packers pajamas. Yep, that's a thing. They got helmets on them and everything. So don't take my advice of how a quarterback should throw the ball, but he does look like he still needs to get a little bit more comfortable. I mean, I don't know if that is. The offensive line, though, was the stars of the game. They did amazing. I read the stat. It was Rodgers had at least on average 3.3 seconds to throw the ball, which is incredible. So they really were the stars of the game. Rodgers had all day to throw. He wasn't really rushed too much. So that was something really, really great to see. But the other story and the main concern that I had about this game was you have the Giants who have 3-star wide receivers in Shepard, OBJ, and Cruz. And they were a non-factor, and being worried about this because, of course, we have Sam Shields who is out. Hopefully he's going to be coming back relatively soon. But Randall was a late scratch as well, so he was out. But you had Rollins, Hyde had amazing, amazing games. OBJ just had the 1 touchdown at the very end, which was a great grab by him. And thankfully he was able to make up with the field goal kicking net. Something I know that we were all desperately, desperately wanting. But besides Beckham getting that 1 TD, I mean, the Giants offense was kind of irrelevant. We held our defensive line again. They held under 50 yards rushing, the Giants had. That's total. So that was incredible. And no real breakout stars when it comes to the wide receivers. So that was incredibly impressive. So their defense, the Packers defense, if we can have that kind of secondary game, and again, when Shields comes back and Randall comes back, I love the way that this defense is shaping up. They're looking really, really good. So that's something to look forward to. In addition, the offense, I mean, we're starting to find our groove. We started really fast again, which was great. In the first drive, we took at least half the quarter off the clock, which was phenomenal, and we ended up with a TD as well. So that's something that you definitely want to see. You want to control time of possession, and you also want to score quickly. And so that was something that the Packers did. There was a little bit of a scare at the end in which they got within a touchdown, but the defense did their job and the offense converted. So that was fantastic. So I have to say I'm loving this offense in that I like that we're winning football games with it. Could it be better? Absolutely, and everybody knows that. And I think as the season progresses, and now we're on like the long haul, there's no bye week, so we're gonna see that offense start clicking more and more. And the defense is really, really looking phenomenal. I hope they're able to keep that up as well. Now, of course, talking about the god awful, terrible news. This is bad. This is bad. The Minnesota Vikings are the only undefeated team in the NFL right now. That was a sentence that just came out of my mouth. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't taste good. I mean, we've talked about them a bit on the show, and their defense is just suffocating opponents. And it was against the Texans, who are a really inconsistent team, but I mean, they really are just suffocating every single offense that they're coming across, and it's super impressive. It really is. But you're watching the Packers game, and it's, of course, I want the Packers to win. I want them to do well and beat the Giants, stuff like that. But then there's also, we need to win to keep up with the Minnesota Vikings, which is not something that I'm used to saying or talking about. And that's like, us in chase mode is different from years past and how it has been. I mean, even last year, we weren't chasing the Vikings. It just turned out that we lost the last game to them and they won the North. Now, do I think the Packers are going to the playoffs? Absolutely. But winning this NFC North is going to be more difficult than I think a lot of Packers fans anticipated. I know that, as I made that bet with Gregory Daniels about wearing a Vikings Brett Favre jersey if the Vikings win the North. So I'm really hoping they just go into a tailspin. It's not even about the Packers doing well. I just hope their team goes into an absolute tailspin. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. You also had the Lions beating the Eagles. They came back and won. It was actually a really cool game that I was watching that. The Eagles suffering their first loss with Carson Wentz, and the Bears lost to Indianapolis. They had a chance to come back, but they kind of blew it as well. So the Bears and Lions, though, are kind of non-factors when it comes to the division. And that the only hope I have is that one of them squeaks out a win against the Vikings at some point. Because the Vikings being an undefeated team, listen, they're only 5-0. We're not going to be talking undefeated season, but they are definitely for real. And if they're able to get 5 more wins, that's essentially going to guarantee them a playoff spot in the NFC. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that as well. Speaking of scoring and all that great stuff, my fantasy leagues, I think we're taping this on Monday, on Columbus Day. I'm winning 3 out of 5 of my leagues, and the big one, of course, being my own league, in which I beat my wife. That sounded wrong. In fantasy football, I defeated my wife, which is great, unless Forrest Whitaker has the most amazing game tonight, which if he is, this is going to be really awkward listening back to. But thankfully, I was able to assert my manliness in the home. I was able to keep my man card. I'm able to stay in this man cave, for if she won, I would have never heard the end of it at all. In addition, talking about kind of what's coming up, we have a Cowboys interview coming up on Thursday, which will be released, and this is a little different. So there may be potential. This is like a first that I might have some difficulty getting a Cowboys fan. The reason being is I'm usually going through the subreddits. Last year, if you didn't check out the Cowboys interview, I actually did it with my dad because my dad is a diehard Cowboys fan. So as you could guess, he's extremely disappointed in my life decisions. Anyway, we had him on. It was a great interview. I posted it to the Cowboys subreddit because I was like, here, it's a Cowboys fan. It's all about the Cowboys. And they banned me from the subreddit for that. And I didn't agree with that at all. So I messaged the mod. So if I'm unable to get on the Cowboys subreddit, I'm going to have to look elsewhere. And I have other ways of getting fans. But if you are watching this, either you're a Cowboys fan and you just stumbled on the way wrong video, or you know a Cowboys fan that would be interested, contact tomgrossicomedy@gmail.com. I'll leave the link in the description so you can do that. If you have any interest in coming on the show, why not? Let's open it up a little bit. Because why not? We love people. In addition, talking about the Packers going forward, Their season, for the schedule first came out, I was really like, oh man, we have an easy schedule, but it doesn't seem like we have that anymore. And that every game is going to be a bit difficult. I mean, looking at the Cowboys, you have Dak Prescott, who's been playing great, but Ezekiel Elliott, man, I have him for one of my fantasy leagues. The guy is just a monster. So we're really, that run defense that I just was praising, they're really going to have a great test against Elliott because they haven't played an elite running back yet, because I don't really count Adrian Peterson. He gets hurt, and he wasn't really playing like Adrian Peterson when the Packers and Vikings met. So that's going to be a really, really interesting test for the Packers, especially against that great offensive line that the Cowboys do have. I'm anticipating a really, really good game. I'm looking forward to that next week. So on Thursday, we will have an interview with the Cowboys fan one way or another, but I'm very excited over a Packers win. It's always fantastic to do that, in which the beers that I was drinking went from potential sad beers to happy beers. And the best part is, as I got to watch that, and then I watched the debate. And so even though the Packers won, America lost. But that's a different story. You could always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or at Tom Grossi on Twitter. Follow Packcast, Packast, either here on YouTube. You can subscribe, SoundCloud, iTunes. We are across all the mediums except the ones that I didn't list just now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate seeing you, and I will see you on Thursday with a Cowboys fan one way or another. And as always, go Pack Go.